questions. I know you're supposed to be going on did you ever go on your probate appointment?
I went there, the guy didn't show up.
That guy didn't show up, huh?
Yeah,
That's
he
weird.
didn't.
Well, I would stay on them. Obviously, yeah, that's weird when they don't show up. Sometimes I have that
Yeah,
happen. You follow up with them and confirm.
I follow up with him. He did not pick up the phone. Since I already had the appointment set up with
Mm.
him, I went there. He has just like a house phone. It's one of these people who are always here. So when he's
Mm.
not at home, you cannot get him. So I was unable to really talk to
Okay.
him.
Yeah, I would have went too. By the way, I've had to do that a couple times where people don't answer, and it's not uncommon that they don't answer, like you said, because they don't have a phone near them and they're waiting on me. So I go anyhow. So you did the right thing. What I would do now is the next step is not to give up, because sometimes people get forgetful. Sometimes, like we talked about, maybe he's wants to sell, but he isn't totally 100% yet. So, like your job is to make sure you stay in his good graces until he's at the right time when he wants to sell, because you know he wants to sell for a price that makes pretty good sense. It seems like it's potentially a good deal. So,
Yeah.
I always would. What I would do is start to put a game plan together. Maybe sending him a voicemail or a text message, whatever you can send him, and saying something to him that would make him interested in calling you back. So I want to walk you through that a little bit, because this comes up a lot where we just get people that kind of ghost out on us, and getting them reenacted into the deal is like a really skill of mine, because I used to get really frustrated when people would call me back. So I started becoming a stalker. So basically, welcome to the group. We're going to go over the stalker section of the group. So when people won't call me back, here's the options you have. But it really works. Like I found that I've gotten, nothing under like 20 deals I've gotten in my life where took it to like a level no one else would take it to, and I got rewarded with a deal. So I want to stay in contact, and we want to be really friendly. Like, hey, I was at the property. I'm sure something came up in your life. I just wanted to stay in contact with you, because when we talked, it sounded like you were pretty serious about selling, and I'm actually really serious about buying. And I've also looked at the property, and I think I can give you a really strong offer you're going to be happy with.
Mm-hmm.
See, that becomes like, you see, I didn't say I was going to pay him more. I didn't say I was going to pay him less, but I made him curious. Oh, a
Yeah.
really strong offer I think you'll be happy with. So this is the kind of stuff that'll get them to call back. Now, Gloria, this is going to be recorded. So when it comes up, if you want to kind of just write that out, script it out, you can just do that. I tend to you can take my version of it, or you can take the good parts of it that you liked and make your own version. But the key to it is you got to have that hook in there, right? Like, super nice. And hey, I wanted to it sounds like you really want to sell. And honestly, I looked at the property again, and I really believe I can give you an offer you're going to be extremely happy with. So I looked at it again, and I'm going to give you an offer that you're going to be really happy with. That might be 25K when you get to see it. It might be 30K. It might be 35, whatever it is. Bottom line is he's now curious, right? Because a lot of times when they stop calling us, they think that maybe they can get more. Maybe he feels like he gave you too low of a number on the phone.
Yeah.
So now he's like, I don't know. So there's a lot. We want to try to remove any of the potential reasons that he isn't answering. But if you get him really excited with that, I think that's going to be your next best step, is just to make sure you leave a message. Now, what I do with these messages, if you have this information, you can find them on Facebook. I would Facebook Messenger. I would, if you have a text message, but it doesn't sound like you can text message, then text message. Obviously leave a voicemail or two, and do that consistently until he gets back with you. And again, it must be, hey, I was at the appointment. Probably forgot. I know you're probably busy and you forgot. And we had an appointment. Just wanted to see when we can reschedule. I'm really very interested in buying. So it's very nice, right? We always want to give them the benefit of the doubt that they didn't intentionally stand us up, right? We hope they didn't, but we'll act like they didn't. We'll look at it very positively and just say, I'm sure something came up and you forgot, and I just wanted to remind you, because and it sounded like it was very important for you. And there you go. So follow up is really big, and making it easy is really big. So not going
Okay.
where it's like, oh, don't make it where it's confrontational. Even though in my heart, I'm like, can't believe you didn't come, man. I do get a little pumped up about it, but then I force myself to write a really nice text message or email or something, whatever I can communicate with them. I've done as much as like almost skip tracing them, and I've hit people, their home, their cell phone, their Facebook. None of that's off limits. If it's a friendly message, it's not off limits to me, because I don't want to mess around and then just because I didn't call back, they sell it to somebody else. some random dude calls up the next day and now you see it being wholesaled or something. That would you don't want that, obviously. So do that follow up. I'd even suggest sending another letter out to them potentially. Anything you can do, because whenever you hear a number and you hear a deal, you want to hit it into top gear, right? This is a good deal, and this is where your focus should be. It's a killer instinct. Like, I would look at it like there's some blood in the water and you're a shark. All right, Gloria, you're the shark. Get ready to take this deal down. I say it jokingly, but like seriously, that's the mentality that we have to train ourselves to have, because anything less, you're going to just watch deals go by, and it's really sad to watch other people get our deals. It really makes me sad, at least, because I can't stand losing. But, not everyone is competitive like I am, but you can train competitive nature into yourself. Anything you're not naturally good at, all you need is a system to make you better at it. That's what I found. There's some things I'm not great at, and I use checklists and worksheets and systems to make me better at them. And then, I'm not good at follow-up. So I have a system that I'm saying, okay, it's follow-up 1. I got to re-engage. This is step 1, is I got to re-engage with him. And then step 2 is I got to get that appointment, present, and close the deal, right? I got to get in there. But number 1 priority right now is getting back in contact and not allowing him to go too ghost out on you, because if you do, oh, God. 1 second. I don't know what the heck is going on. What is that doing? Sorry, guys. I couldn't actually end the call on my computer, which is weird. The step 2, really step 1 is just re-engage, okay? Does that all make sense?
Yes. Made a lot of sense.
Yeah, well, just, do it. Let me know how it works out. So, like, here's the thing we love to do in the group. We try stuff. And if we fail, we don't care, because at least we're trying. We're taking shots, right? The worst thing you could potentially do is nothing. That's the only thing I would say is wrong. Anything beyond nothing, you did fine. So, hey, Ray, what you got going on, buddy? Okay, I think you can hear me now.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, for sure, man. I can hear you good.
On that home inspection, I did everything we talked about on the call yesterday. Mm-hmm. I had my realtor call him. She kind of primed it before she sent the email with the responses. And she said, it sounds like, she said, everything seemed fine. She said, I'll forward this over to the buyers. She said, the only thing they might have a question on is one of the things, I don't know if you recall, but there was an addition built prior to us owning it off the back of the property, and there's realistically no way from when it was built for them to get crawl space access, so there wasn't one put in, but they made a note of that in the home inspection report. So if they kind of are persistent with that, I'm curious what alternatives, what options do you think I have? Because there's no
wait for the response. It'll be easier to respond to whatever they respond to than it is to guess what they'll respond to. Does that make sense? Wait till they respond, because there's a chance they might work it out themselves, and then we don't have to use any energy. But the best response will be based off of their response. Does that make sense? Because now you're guessing what their actual focus or fear will be. So let's see what their response is, and then just hit me with a Marco Polo, and then we'll work it out. Just be solution based, right? Problem solver, whatever it is, just figure it out. Like, there's got to be a way around it, right? It's not the only house in the world that you can't get under the crawl space. It's not like common that you can get under every crawl space. It's not mandatory, right? And there's nothing.
No, and it's not
There's nothing suggesting that it was done incorrectly, like unlevel floors or cracks or, so they're not saying it for that reason, right? I didn't see anything that I remember. It was like, hey, this thing's got this problem.
There's
so
not,
really
it was more of just a question. It was more of just a question that, hey,
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't open a crawl space door, and I couldn't look at anything. But I did tell them to at least relay back to the buyers as well, that if I had, the reason there's probably no crawl space access is, number one, it was built, probably before, it was built before, but I said, in addition to that, all it is a back family room. There's nothing really that needs access. There's no plumbing under there. There's nothing that could, there's nothing that could leak, that could,
totally.
so we left it at that.
I think that right now, wait to see how they respond, and then make a good response based on that. But the foundation of my response would be, hey, listen, there's not actually what is the actual problem you're afraid of? Because usually home inspection requests are problems. I get that you can't get under access, but there's plenty of houses you can't access very tiny crawl spaces like that because, well, no one could get under it. First of all, it's a small crawl space. You're not going to be able to look under it with a flashlight. But secondarily, if there's not an issue with home inspections, there has to be a problem that you're saying like, hey, there's a foundation issue or there's some issue coming up. So if you don't actually have an issue, then what is it that we're really trying to solve here? Like, what is the true concern? And then if you get to the true concern, then we can figure out how to help them.
Yep, and she just told her realtor that it was more a quote unquote, not a fear of the unknown, but it was really the only area of the home that they couldn't inspect.
Well, you can't inspect under the house either. I mean, why don't they go under the foundation? They don't know what's going under the foundation of the basement or the foundation of the house, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, hopefully it'll pass.
Not, I think the problem is that, I think the problem is like, it's not the way, yes, he said that, but I don't know, he didn't make a recommendation of like, hey, poke a hole in it, tear the floors up. There's no recommendation made with that. So I think we just have to get back to like, is this an issue or not being able to get under the house? Is there any evidence that there's an issue under there? And so now if there isn't, then we're really just being, we're being a little overly cautious. So I think that if we can start to, win the realtor over, then the realtor can start to win her over slowly. So it's just it's a back and forth with them, right? That's all you're doing.
Yeah. No, they put in there, the reason I think that, because he put in, and this is where I was, it is what it is, but he put in the home inspection report that he would actually suggest opening and creating a crawl space access, even though he didn't have any evidence of an issue.
From where? Did he give any idea of that? Because, like, what's he talking about? The floor or something? Because that's another angle in this would be to say, the only way we can get a crawl space access is if we put a big panel of wood in the middle of your floor. Well, are you okay with that? Like, most people don't like that because it's not really necessary. Yeah. But if you want, we could put a big trap door that goes into the crawl space so you can look down that crawl space. But once we do it, we're not going to put carpet back or hardwood. You're just going to have a big trap door there. Are you good with that? Because, I mean, most of the time they're like, no, we don't want a fucking trap door in the middle of our room, right? They're like, no way. I don't want that. Because I think that's like, they're saying do it, but it's very unreasonable if they're talking about like tearing floor up and doing it versus, I mean, if they want you to put a trap door, I'd be like, all right, I'll put a trap door if that's what you want. But most people are going to say, I don't want that. It's not that important. Because I think sometimes this is just about people using a little common sense. That's all. And your job is to insert some common sense into it and be very patient and, and work with them until you get an answer that makes some sense.
Yeah. I think we should be good though.
Cool. Yeah, probably so. I mean, either way, you don't let it blow anything up. You just ask them for a solution. Hopefully that's what they're working on now. Like, hey, we want this done. Because they really technically, the thing about that request, well, they didn't really ask for anything.
Yeah.
They didn't ask for anything specifically. So, I mean, and that one of the responses to that request initially might have been, instead of just no, might have been like, what specifically are you asking for? Like there's no evidence of any damage or anything. So just out of curiosity, in order for us to say yes or no, what are you specifically asking for?
Yeah.
Because sometimes I think home inspections are about clarifying, right? There's a lot of just randomness that goes on there, and we have to clarify the crap out of them. So that way they're, we know what we're talking about, because they do put stuff on there. Like one time on mine, I think this is probably a time where I deal with these all the time. And in every like 10 home inspections, I go a little over. I get ready to jump off a bridge and get kind of crazy because I'm tired of hearing them so much. And this was like the 10th home inspection. I was like, the lucky guy is the winner of me going crazy. He basically put on there though, and this isn't professional for him to do this, but everything on this inspection was unprofessional. And then he puts on there, work on the soffit is unprofessional and shoddy looking. And I'm just like, okay, what would you like me? What is the repair you want? And then people are like, well, what do you mean? It's unprofessional, shoddy looking. I'm like, and okay, why? Like, why is it unprofessional and shoddy looking? They're like, well, because it is. And I'm like, well, I look at it, it looks pretty normal to me. It's my personal house, by the way. I lived there for 12 years, and I'm like a freaking license. You know, I've done a ton of flips. They act like I was living in a dump hole. You know, I think that was just like they had a bunch of those jabs on there where it was like he just was talking crap on an inspection report. I'm like, that's not, saying that you don't like the way it looks and it looks ugly. It's like, yeah, the design is ugly. Like, you know what I mean? That's not a real request. Like, let's get clear about what do you want actually? Like, what is it you specifically are asking for? And so they, we see a lot of that where they'll say things like it looks shoddy, or in this situation, they'll say like there's no access, but we have to hold them accountable to say, okay, what is it? What is the solution that you're providing then? What is it you're actually asking for? Because they didn't ask. They weren't like replace it. They weren't like this or that. They were just like, hey, I just want to put a note in there that's ugly. That looks like crap. But I was like, do you want me to fix it? Do you want to replace it? And they're like, well, we don't want anything. We just wanted to let you know. It's like, well, thanks, man. That's awesome. That really went a long ways. Thanks. That's what they replied to me. I was like, what is the solution? The guy's like, it doesn't need to be fixed. It's fine. It's just ugly. I'm like, oh, okay. And the problem was there was like 20 things like that. And, this was a negative home inspector, obviously. We get those, and sometimes they're kind of a trip. So I would just clarify the problem, but when it comes back, if it is a problem.
Okay.
What else do you have that you got going on? I know you have a property you're selling right now, right?
This one.
This one you're going to settlement, right?
Yeah, this one.
This one's under contract.
Yeah, this one's next Tuesday for closing.
Mm-hmm. And then you have one that's on the market, correct?
No, yes, we do. Yeah, we're supposed to hear back on the highest and best. We called that for noon today, so I'm guessing I should hopefully get some responses shortly from those three offers. Okay, good.
Now, where are you listed at, and what's kind of your numbers that you're seeing right now?
We listed 184.9. The two of the offers are full price. One has like a couple of thousand in seller assist they're requesting. The other one's full price with no seller assist. And two are conventional. One's FHA, and I think both the conventionals have those escalation clauses I was telling you. So they're trying to get the realtors to basically just take them off and say, listen, you're not the only one that's kind of playing this hand. Where's your buyer seriously? What number?
Mm-hmm.
So in all honesty, it's kind of a lot of it's the coaching from you to me, through me to the realtor. Cause I think while it's a good thing that our realtor has kind of a team of people to help them. I was starting to tell you this yesterday. Our deals, unfortunately, it's a piece of inventory to him, and they do give good attention. We've gotten above asking. We have most of our deals close on time, pretty consistently. But I don't feel like they're treated, I guess, as in the way that Hannah and I are, the way that you treat your deals. Like, I feel like that's what's helped you refine a lot of your negotiation from a realtor's perspective.
It is. And, and to be fair, your realtor sounds like he's giving you a high level of service in comparison to other realtors out there. So I definitely disagree. I agree with that 100%. But then I guess the reality that we come down to is that realtors, unfortunately, like if you tell this to them, they don't want to hear it. But, they really isn't in their best interest to work with an investor who actually knows what should be done to get the most money for the house. Now, if they're on board with it, it's a journey that if they were to take that journey with you, Ray, like it's going to change their life. First of all, knowing how to do all these levels of things would make them seriously, like top agent, like in any region, because you can just look at what the top agents are doing and they're just not doing that, right? You don't see this level of expertise until you get into like commercial and other stuff. So I think that if a realtor is really super ambitious, then learning this kind of stuff and testing your boundaries and really kind of taking their game to the next level is so in their best interest anyhow. confidence that comes with it, their ability to serve, their ability to get their clients the most money. They're really, really, when I do a deal, I feel 100% in control. Like I rarely ever feel out of control. When I was with realtors, I always felt out of control because, there's so many little things they weren't doing to maintain my control. They were being real loose about a lot of things, which by the way was about the industry standard. And the agent I was working with was definitely considered a good agent too. And he probably does half of what I do now, and he's considered to be definitely considered to be one of the best around here. Same thing with another really big agent we have around here who does a lot with investors. I mean, he's it's just, again, like you said, your goals aren't quite aligned. Right? A realtor's trying to get commission, a realtor's trying to brand and market themselves, and you're just trying to, like, down and dirty get the absolute most money for your property and get the settlement more often than not. Obviously, increase your probability of making a settlement and decrease your inspection and repair list. Like, essentially, right?
Yeah.
That's it. So that's all you care about. Anything you can do to make that real, then you're like, let's do it. And, like, the question is, how far can you be willing to go with it? And if they get really far, or they're willing to go really far with it, it does seem to them like, a lot of times it seems like a lot of time up front. But what I can promise you is the reason I only spend an hour or two doing my realtor gig a week is because of all that work I do up front. All that work I'm doing like that makes my job pretty easy. Where I think most of the time is spent, and I would consider this not to be fun time, is dealing with fires, right? You get your realtor's license and you don't follow through at this level of detail. What I've seen personally, and I've seen with my team, is that they just end up always running around like a chicken with their head cut off, because they're always constantly being reactive versus proactive. So a lot of what we're doing, right, and I'm showing you, is how to be proactive in a deal, how to solve problems before they even come up, like see them before they even happen. And when that is such a great way to do business, because I'll tell you, proactively, it takes 20 minutes to solve a problem. Reactively, it takes 3 hours. And it's just in the 3 hours is painful hours, right? Where the 20 minutes feels fun and in control, and you're doing it for a reason, and you just feel good. And then when someone calls you and says, "Oh my God, we need this, this, and this, and we got 2 hours of settlement. It's going to kill the deal, and this person's freaking out, yelling at me." And it's like, holy crap! I don't want to do 5 minutes of that. Like, you're right. I don't even want like 5 minutes of that. That's too much. Like, it's how you end up on like Prozac and every other kind of medication that we have to get on, which, by the way, they probably should just give to people when they rehab houses. Have to talk to their doctor. Maybe we get a bulk prescription for the whole group. Your rehab houses, you're going to need some mood elevators, something. I mean, it can be stressful, but I feel like we make it really stressful because of not being proactive, and like reacting to stuff drives me absolutely crazy. How do you feel when like you get put in those situations and like kind of stresses you out?
Yeah, I mean, that was that was a lot of reason that Hannah and I explained to you that we decided to do the coaching, is because we felt like last year, with the best intentions, we intended it as a year of growth, and taking on too much when we weren't prepared, instead of taking on the right amount and being proactive with it, it kind of left us feeling like we were backpedaling for the year. And now we're at the point where those have sold or are selling. We're buying a new place on Monday, and we're just way ahead of it. I mean, the lender's ready. The township inspection's done. We're just waiting for a final HUD, but we have all the materials done. The kitchen's laid out, ready to purchase right when we're done settlement. The dumpster's on standby. So we spent 4 years being proactive, 3.5. And when we kind of, not that the growth was a bad goal, but I think we went about it incorrectly, and we went after more volume instead of higher margin deals.
Yeah. Yep, quality versus quantity. I mean, or quantity versus quality. Yeah, I got it. No, it makes a lot of sense.
We're
sounds
good.
Awesome,
We've turned that corner back.
How about the whole? So we don't talk about this a lot, and I don't think any other coach ever talks about this. I actually just did a podcast with a guy named Taylor Schiff, or Chef, sorry, I don't get his last name wrong, but he's an agent too, but teaches people about building rentals and doing other stuff from Tampa, Florida. And one of the cool things me and him talked about, he's like, I'm an agent, man. I love being an agent. And like, nobody, everybody wonders why I'm an agent, but like he started talking about what he does on his deals. And I'm like, dude, it sounds like what I do. It was like, I met my long lost brother. I was like, that's what I do. I go crazy like that. You guys are like, do you know how much money you make when you do this? And I'm like, it's like the secret weapon that no one knows about. Like no agent's going crazy and getting that extra 5, 10, 15K. And he's like, dude, I get so much more money on my wholesale deals and my deals that I'm selling if I'm doing it. He just loves doing it because he's like, it's a lot of fun for him because he's, really kind of like it's a competition almost. So, unfortunately our realtors don't, they don't think of it that way. No, I don't believe everyone has to do it. I think you either have to decide to do it yourself or you have to decide to coach the person that you're working with until they get up to par. And then you guys become a working team, right? You and that agent become the agent never should be 100% in control and making decisions. Most of the time, if you look back, you probably would, I know you make the final decision, but you look back in your interaction with your agent, and I bet that agent influenced you heavily because that's just the way it works, right? They come, they're the expert, they know the deal, they're one negotiating. So if they're heavily influencing you and they don't have the same goals as you, then there's a good chance they're going to influence you to do something that's not really in the best interest of your deal. It's just hard to see because it's one of those things that looks on face value, it looks like they did a great job. Because like I got you full price and you're real happy to get that. But I'm always like questioning whether, well, what if we could have got 10K over or even 5K or 3K? All that's real money. Like I want that money and money means something to me. I would prefer they go negotiate a little harder, take the 3K and give it to charity before you just leave it on the table. Go create a freaking, a foundation and like every dollar I negotiate over where I normally would have kept, not negotiated, let me give it to charity and like change the world. That's my belief. Do something meaningful with it. Take a vacation, help a kid. I don't know. You have plenty of kids yourself, so you don't have to help any other ones if you don't want. You just help your own if you want. It's up to you. So I don't know. I think about it like that. I really want to take it out. And when he talked to me, I was the first person I heard that actually agreed with me and took that approach. I know a lot of you guys are like, no, it makes sense, and I totally agree. He's the first person I've seen who kind of ended up in the same place as me without me telling him. He's really very high level negotiator. He has some cool stuff. It'll be out. I'll have it out in like a week or two, so you guys should check it out. He had some really good things he gave, some good tips. It was cool stuff. I'm getting ready to launch my podcast actually next week, and I'm getting some pretty cool people. A lot of value, like always. Not a lot of fluff. I don't even think we talk half the time about people's stories. We're just like straight into like good stuff that you can actually take action on.
Nice.
So he had a couple good things. He had one was the why. He says I like to ask people why, and he's like it's if they're like, hey, I need to get 200K. He's like, okay, 200K. Why? Just out of curiosity, why 200K? And then just like, well, this and this. He's like, oh, okay, this and this. Why? And he's like, you don't have to do it like over and over, but if you put a couple whys in, he's like, people will start qualifying and start explaining themselves, and half the time they'll just negotiate themselves and work out that the whole thing they're asking for doesn't make sense. And I was like, yeah, I used to do that a lot. Now I feel like it's like one of those awesome things that I knew and forgot. You know how many cool things we know and we forget? Like, Gloria is pretty new to the group. Gloria, this is Ray, by the way, just to introduce you if you're on still and you can hear us. But Gloria has done a lot of training, and Ray's done a lot of training too. And sometimes, we just a matter of remembering some of the really cool stuff we learned and then now reassessing how to use it. And that's what this group's really about. It's like taking our knowledge that we have deep in our heart, and we just haven't found how to implement it, right? This is more about implementation than it is about, obviously learning every new thing. Now, there's a lot of things I do really differently, and, because I've really taken a lot of time to find like the most optimal way to do things. And in that case, then go ahead and use that, right? That is about new education, but long term, it's about learning to implement that information, right? If we can implement what we're learning, then that changes everything. And that's where systems, that's where we use this word systems or processes. That's learning to implement and test and see the results. Creating a foundation for your business is like so big. So, so cool stuff. I'll make sure you guys hear that whenever I'll put it up on the Facebook group and make sure everybody can check it out. I thought it was a pretty cool episode. He's a higher level dude for sure. So it was cool to talk with him.
Nice.
What else you got going on, Ray? Is everything else good or? Anything else that I can help you with?
I think the next thing is going to be contractors. The guy that we have been using for 4-ish years, I remember when we started with you, we told you that his prices were kind of going straight up with really no explanation as to why. And the reason we ended up wrapping up, Hannah and myself, the majority of the last project that's on the market now is he kind of honestly disappeared. We had a couple of text messages and calls of he'd have guys there to finish this, that, and the other. And in all honesty, no one ever showed. And I didn't have the resources to kind of keep chasing them. So we just finished that one ourselves. So definitely the next thing is going to be lining up new contractors.
What about the team members he had? Did they ever talk with them? Because I don't know. It sounds like he's falling apart. They might be looking for someone else to work with. I've had contractors freak out, and then they're sorry. Go ahead.
No, I think he's doing other stuff because, believe it or not, actually, his wife actually cuts Hannah's and my mom's hair. So once a month, once every 6 weeks, they'll kind of check in. We had kind of little hints at stuff like he used some of our subs in the past on some of our projects, and a few of them called us looking for payment, even though they contracted with him. So he had a few vendors he wasn't paying. So, I guess I look at it now that maybe it was for the best, but I know he's doing other stuff. I don't know who and
well, usually they're doing other stuff because they're doing other stuff because now, well, you can already, the fact that he didn't pay vendors tells you everything you need to know. I mean, that's the ultimate time when things are going downhill and they're not going well. When you start to have vendors come to you and be like, hey, can I get paid? And you're like, what are you talking about, right? As soon as that happens, that is the absolute first sign that that is right before the ship sinks in the middle of the ocean, right? So, but with that being said, that's for you guys. Now, the next step of what happens when the ship starts to sink, right, obviously, is now they go to other people who don't know he's a sinking ship. And then because now they're just happy to meet a new contractor, and he starts doing the same thing with them. He starts getting money. And eventually, if not the next house, within a few houses max, he just ends up ripping somebody off, the first person who allows him to rip them off, because just what's going to be. By the way, he's going down a dark tunnel, not paying people, not being able to get the work done affordably. It's not really about you. Just these people sometimes struggle. I always say contractors have a shelf life, especially American ones, because I don't know why we've been so ingrained to be freaking lazy. The Spanish guys worked for me for 5 years, 6 years, and they're just happy to be there. It's high five. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Families eating, everybody's good. Kids are going to school, living the life. American guys are I can't afford, man. I can't live on what you pay me. What? It's just I don't know. It's just a different perspective, right? Or it all comes from, I guess, different phrasing up in a different culture, I guess. So anyhow, that's why I'm always pretty gung-ho about Spanish contractors, because not just that, first of all, they kind of rule the business, but overall, I find it when I find a really good one with good morals and good character, I really find it's someone I can work with long term and who can maintain. I feel like they don't have as many outside influences, if that makes sense. They're not, some American people have a lot of outside influences. So what happens long term is it feels like something's always nipping at them. There's always the grass is greener on the other side is constantly pressuring them.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was. That was, and again, it's not like I say, Hannah, my mom still see his wife, and he's through there intermittently, and he kind of just honestly disappeared from the jobs. And, there's really honestly no bad blood. For 4 years, he had consistent work, and, we had consistent projects that were done well. But like you said, I think it was just that expiration period had ticked up. And I tend to agree with you, too. I definitely think some of the best production is going to come, whether it's from we actually just did hardwood floors on one of the jobs, and all the guys that came out were, I think different nationalities specialize in different types of trades. And, I think actually every one of the flooring guys, they were all Chinese or Oriental, and they were phenomenal. Like, they were absolutely phenomenal. That was all they excelled in. And, you know, I don't know if it's just going to be the process of going through, you know, we went through 9 contractors for flooring to find one that just did a knockout job at a super reasonable price. Yeah. And, you know, he ended up being $1,700. And when I ran through my numbers with you of how the GC that we were working with broke out his cost, he had in $2,700 for the flooring. So that means I'm going to guess he was probably padding his number $800 to $1,000 to have somebody else do the floor. So,
yeah. Well, in that scenario, but remember, there's a few things he was cheaper on. I mean, it seemed like his numbers, well, his new numbers were a little high. We both agreed upon that. And that was like, it was the little difference of that. Listen, I think having control of like having your flooring guy, having your electrician, plumber, and eventually finding a person who can do the work for you. Like, you know, I have like a general Spanish crew of 3 to 5 people usually, and they do everything except for like major mechanicals and specialty trades. So, you know, they're going to do, usually they're going to do tile, paint, trim, doors, paint outside, I don't know, hardwood they can do. You know, they figure out how to do the hardwood, like laying the hardwood. They can do that. Sanding, then you need a specialty crew for that. You know, you put the vandies in, you know, they can do demo, all that stuff. Like, they're doing all those things. But I'm going to hire like a special, and they're doing tile too, right? They're doing just everything that like overall. And then I hire people for electric, plumbing, roof, HVAC, all the important stuff, because, you know, I want to hire them. First of all, I don't want to be that. Those things are very expensive, and they're also very important to the job. So I don't really want to be upcharged on them. And because what happens a lot of times, if people can meet your price, it's because they found somebody who's like a crackhead. And I just don't want crackheads doing my electric and plumbing. I don't mind them doing some other stuff. If you want to work with crackheads, I'm not going to be against crackheads, right? Because I used to work with a lot of crackheads, and I give them credit. I did build my business with crackheads. Like, it's not like some crackheads worked for me before, and it's okay. But what I found with crackheads were they're crackheads, right? So they're a lot of fun to be around, like for about 10 minutes, and then you're like, holy crap, this guy's a crackhead. And he drives me nuts. And they call you all the time, and they, you know, you get, I don't have a screwdriver. Can you give me a screwdriver? The next day, you're like, can you get me another screwdriver? Like, can you get me lunch? Can you pick me up? My car's broke down. It's like a lot of stuff. It's so crazy. But they'll work for like $80 a day or something, or $100 a day. But so I don't want, like, it's okay to have that with paint and some trim, some minor stuff, because that stuff's easily fixable. But I don't want it with electric, plumbing, HVAC, the stuff that burns houses down. You know, it's hard to fix, really expensive. Really want to get someone who actually knows what they're doing there. And so if I get a person like you had your guy in between, like, you know, you just either pay too much for it or you end up getting like bad work. So that's my experience of it, why I like to take control of the major mechanicals myself and have my flooring guy, have my guy does electric and plumbing. If you can get one that can do like plumbing and HVAC, that is something that sometimes you'll find one guy who can do HVAC and plumbing. It's pretty amazing. You know, just have your roof guy or 2-3 roof guys you can call. It's always good to just have that. Now, so you're organizing a few people, but what you're also gaining is you're gaining some diversification. So you're not having all your eggs in one basket of the contractor who could flake out and then send you downhill, right? So now if one contractor goes bad, the rest of the house is still going. Your electrician flakes out. Okay, you still got everything else going until you find another electrician. And by the way, all the other people you got going that are working well likely they can say, hey, here's an electrician I know. Because now you got all this diversification, all these different people, you can run off those sources. So that's why I've always found it best. I've many times, my old partner, Jay, I mean, he challenged me many, many times to go to the full GC model. And I tried my heart to do it. And it just, you know, I looked at it. And, I mean, I tried for a year and I could not get anyone to do it like that. It just wasn't, it was not, I mean, I'm not saying it's not possible, but I say in our area, East Coast, that it's not really practical versus saying it's not possible. It's not very practical. And so I struggled finding someone. And the funny part of this story, and I guess Jay probably won't mind me sharing this, but after I left Jay with the subcontractor, you know, a couple subcontractors, and I took a couple, right, about half and half. We split the guys. Well, Jay kind of ran most of the subs off and told them eventually they all come to me and said, yeah, they said I got to work for this GC guy he's using. So he went back to that freaking GC model that he's always been so pumped about. And well, he did that for about 2 years, and then I had lunch with him. He's like, "Nah, I'm done with the rehab and stuff. It's too much trouble. Freaking GCs, man, they're hard to work. Like they just got rip me off for this. Don't do that. They're always giving me shit." And I'm like, "Yeah." I was like, I had to hold back. Like I told you so. I thought we had this conversation 45 times. And it's not to say Jay's wrong, but like, I'm just telling you this story because like even Jay tried again after me and him tried. And like, I don't know anyone who is successfully running GCs at this price point at, 50, 60K renovations. It's just hard, now what I like, and I have done is like a GC, maybe what I'm using is more of like, I have a project manager and he's kind of like my GC. So, and you can get a working project manager if you're just doing a couple houses. Like that's good. You can take a project manager who schedules all these people for you, but when he's not scheduling, he gets to do work, right? Maybe he can do the cabinets. Maybe he can throw some trim up or something, whatever he's good at. So he can make money every week.
Does your guy do that?
He can make his money, and then he does it now, but my old guy did, and I've had guys do that before. My guy now, I got so much work, I had to get him just focused on one thing, scheduling and ordering materials.
Okay.
And keeping everything, get estimates and organized. And he has like a long day just doing that, right? He can't do that now because I only recommend that guy when you're small. It's just a way to weed in a project manager because most people don't realize project managers cost. A good project manager is 100+K a year, like a really good one. And if you could find someone for 60 to 70, you made out like a bandit if you find a really awesome take charge project manager. Now, with that being said, obviously, I have systems. And if you have systems, then you can bring in someone who shows a lot of talent and is on the uprise for 40, 50K a year and then train them into the position. And they're still going to want to make some money, though, because if you get really good at project management, like the people who I interviewed when I was looking for my third project manager and I was trying to step it up because we were doing 100+ renovations a year, I couldn't get anyone under like 100 to 120K a year who was like awesome. And I ended up getting a dude for 65K a year, and he wasn't awesome. It was 65K a year. So this is a scenario where my cheapness won. And my project manager, I pay him $3K a house, and he makes about 80 to 90K a year right now. He's underpaid, honestly.
So he just gets a flat number per house.
I give him $3K a house, but I give him $3K a house, and then I also do 2 flips with him a year where I give him half the profit. He's a family member too, so I want his income to stay up. So that's how I keep his income up around like 100K, because I know if you don't, he's got a lot of talent, man. He's doing a lot of houses for me. He's doing 40 flips a year for me, and he keeps my costs down, so that's totally worth it. I mean, really, if you split it, it's only like really total $4,000 a house, really.
Wow.
But he saves me like 10K, 15K a house, and he does. And by the way, this is the secret to my automation, right? So he's saving me way more than I'm paying him. So that's first step. If a project manager can, save you 10K and you pay him 5, then like you're still making out like a bandit, right? And then the key is though, he's so good that like, we don't talk that much. Me and him might talk once or twice a week for like 20, 30 minutes. That's it. And like I sometimes can go weeks without talking to him, and it's totally fine. Because he's gotten that good and he knows what he's doing. And I, this stuff isn't hard for him, but it's because he's not connected to making money on the work. See, the making money on the work is like it's like this, we go back to like, it's like the poisonous apple, right? It's like, holy crap, if he can make more money on the work, then what's his focus? Well, how do I do more work? How do I make more money? Well, his focus is you're getting paid $3K no matter what, but your job, like what I expect from you is to go get this done cheaply, efficiently, on time, on schedule. Doesn't always do it perfect, but damn if he doesn't get it done without me being bugged all the time. I can tell you that. Like he definitely doesn't drive me crazy at all. He doesn't need a ton of managing. I managed him for the first year, and then he got less every 6 months. It's way less. So you could spend a lot of time with someone like that early on, and then if you find someone like that, when you're only doing, it's something to consider. I always think when people say, "What's my first hire?" I think your first hire is an assistant who can help on all fronts of your business. Like a do it, like take charge, do everything assistant who can order stuff for you, who can interview contractors for you, who can do QuickBooks for you if needed, who can go Home Depot, place an order, maybe take some seller phone calls off or hit the MLS and send you some deals. Like they're just like, I'm willing to do anything. And if you could pay that person 40, 50K a year, that person could end up doing like 80 to 85% of your business for you.
That might
That's
be
why
next.
it's good though to get. Well, get your stuff together first and get real confident with your deal flow and your workflow. So your money's in and your money's comfortable, because when you take that person on, what happens is you're going to spend a lot of your energy. If your business isn't tight and your systems aren't feeling real strong, you won't have any time to spend on your systems. You end up spending all your energy training this person. That makes sense. So I always think that, like, I know everybody's like, well, I want to hire an assistant so I can build the systems. Well, you can do that, but if you do, know that it's going to cost you a decent amount of money to do that, because this assistant effectively isn't going to do a whole lot for you in the first 3 to 6 months. They're going to really just be focusing on fixing stuff and all that. So I don't mind doing it if you're going to do it that way, but you also could hire a VA, by the way, who could do the same thing. If you get a really good VA for $10 an hour, work them like, I don't know, $200 a week or something, that wouldn't be the end of your life. And it would force you to find things for them to do, things that Hannah's doing, things that you're doing that you don't enjoy. And then Hannah could take on some new duties. I don't know who's getting their license eventually, but, you know, so she could take on some new, more important duties, and you can take on some more important duties and figure out, okay, what within what we do every day is not so important. Because look, here's the facts. If you and Hannah are doing everything, well, we know that about 80% of what you do is very redundant, and there could be a system created so you don't have to do it. And, you know, it could be easily given away. Like every month I do PowerPoints for my meetups. I do all this stuff. When you see the PowerPoint book that I got for you guys on our 3-down breakdown, like, holy crap. Hey, 1 second. Let me answer this real quick.
Okay.
Hey, Samara.
Hey, Mike. How you doing?
Good. Hey, I'm on the call. Are you trying to get in?
Oh no, I thought the call, I must be mixing up my days. I thought the call was pushed back to 7.
No. There's one at 12 and one at 7. It's a double day. We're double dipping today.
Oh, yeah. That's why I didn't log on.
No, yeah, jump on. That's what I meant. Jump on the call. I thought you were calling. That's why I told them to hold up, because I thought you were calling and confused. But no, we're double dipping the day for people who at 7 o'clock, because we got a 3-day event on Thursday.
Alrighty.
All right,
okay,
talk
I'll
to you
get on
soon.
in just a minute.
All right,
okay.
see you. Bye.
Thanks.
She was calling, and I told her, I said, jump on the call, and she called me, and I was like, I think she wanted to come to the call. She didn't realize that she thought we were just doing 7 o'clock. I think that maybe other people thought that too, because we don't normally just have 3 people on. So I guess maybe we didn't write that so clearly. Or I don't know. I guess I did say we're having a second late call. Maybe I should have said that would be in addition to the first call. I probably should have said
I
that.
think too, if Delonte or whoever does the emails or sends out the notice, I know they send them on Facebook, but I always honestly like, I know that they're scheduled twice a week, and you know, every now and then they'll change times, but in all honesty, usually email. But my business requires me to be more through email.
Yeah, I hear you. That's
Facebook's
a good
tougher
idea.
for me
I'll make sure we'll start doing that, because not everybody's following Facebook. You're right. So I'll make sure everyone gets an email. That's a good suggestion. Hey, Delonte.
Because then from email.
Ray had some customer feedback that he'd like to give to you and I. We need to email the link because the Facebook thing, nobody's paying attention to Facebook all the time. So he's actually got a life. He can't be on Facebook like you millennials. He's like, I can't be like a millennial on Facebook all day looking for groups. But no, like if we could find a way to just email everyone in the group, maybe we just get like a group that we could save, and then we wouldn't have to constantly keep putting their names in. Like, is there a way to
And I think if you send an invitation, you can actually send it so it'll put a link and a reminder right into like a Google Calendar or like an iCalendar too.
Yeah. Because if we send the invitation, then they can literally just put it right in their calendar. That's how like Ted does. We'll figure it out, but just take a note of, because he's right. That's what they do. And like my coach does, he'll send me the thing and I just click it and it goes right in my phone. And then the link's there, everything. You don't have to go to the It's probably more clean. That would probably get more people to come. Something does. Yeah, I'm sure it's a technical thing. I feel like you're more qualified than him. Well, they're probably using like a certain software. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that it can be done right from Zoom, honestly. You can just invite attendees. We just have to have like a group or something. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Like if you research it, I bet your super powerful brain can figure this out. we're just going to leave it at that. All right. So yeah, I agree. Good advice. Cause I know I do that with a lot of my stuff, and that would be easier for everyone to just be able to click. It'd probably be less work for everyone to just click right on, use their phone or their computer, whatever they're on. So we'll start doing that.
Cool.
Try to get that out for the next one. So, contractors, we were talking about the contractors, and I was saying that, yeah, you can get contractors, systems, and everything eventually. Once you really get your cash flow going and deals going, you get a nice flow of it, right? You put the work in right now, but like in the next 3 to 6 months, then the next thing is to get someone and hire them. But the fear I have when hiring people, and I've hired a lot of people over the years, like a lot of people, and it's always that this initial intake time is very expensive. And if you're hiring them locally, like someone that's going to come sit in your office or work over your house or whatever, then that person is, statistically not going to work 8 hours a day. They're going to like get paid 8 hours a day, but are only going to work, like, statistically, they say that if somebody's working 4 hours a day, they're killing it. Most people are only working 2 to 3. So, because we do spend so much time driving, thinking, talking, doing stuff that's just not really valuable to the company. Facebook, right?
Yeah.
All these different social medias. So I personally think that the reason I love VA so much is because I think if you wrap your head around systems, then a VA can be taught to do any single thing we do in this business, minus seeing properties. That's it, because they're not here locally. But guess who's the best qualified to see properties and to make offers, and who's always the best qualified? Even today, I still do that, right? It's me.
Yeah.
And I don't have to go see every property. You could hire a local property runner. That's what I did. I have a guy that runs and sees properties, and I give him like $30 to go see the property, and I think it's $25 I give him, and he goes, sees it, and does a quick video, puts it on YouTube for me. And, I'm fine with paying him $25 because it holds me accountable to, like, not just send them out randomly to a bunch of junk, right? Send them out to good stuff. And if, he goes and sees like 3 to 5 properties a week, and I'm buying 70 houses a year from that. So I don't mind spending that little bit of money when you get to that place. But when you're still like running, say, 10 to 20 houses a year, you easily can go out and see your properties. Because I'll tell you that even him going to see it versus me going to see it, there's an uptick in business when I go to see it. When I go to see it, I'm more confident with it. I'm out there problem solving. I'm deal making, essentially. So I don't mind seeing houses. And if you feel like, oh, that's taking a lot of my time, then maybe you're not being selective enough. But I think from everything I've seen with you, you're actually very selective, and you do a good job on that. So don't worry about that. But I'm speaking for anyone else that's listening. So, you want to not go see every single property, but if you could be seeing maybe 5 properties or 6 properties a week, and you could start picking up like, one a week, or one every 2 weeks, that's like 25 deals a year, one every 2 weeks. And that's very real, by the way. If you're out there, you have a good searching system, and it's not hard to teach a VA to go in the MLS, especially if you have your license, and go in the MLS, search the MLS for you every morning, show them how you're picking, let them do all the work, and be like, hey, Ray and Hannah, here's like the 3 deals you should look at. Now, all of a sudden, you're just looking at like every day, 1 or 2. And if they don't find good deals, then you know what you give them? A plan B. I went through the MLS. There was nothing today. So I went back to everything that's 90 days plus old. Now they're looking at 90 days plus old, right? Got you. Don't find nothing there. Here's plan C. Plan C is they jump in and they're like, hey, let's look at everything that's on the HUD site, right? Let's go to the HUD site and see what's on there. Plan D might be, hey, let's jump out and see everything that's under contract. And so we can call the agent, see how things going. And by the way, you can teach the VA to say, you know what, I got a list of all these houses that look like they would be a good fit for you. And, they're under contract. I'm going to call the agent, see how things are going. Like, you can teach a VA to do that at $10 an hour. You can get a VA to do that all day long for you. Just imagine just that being done for you alone. That's probably a few hours a day tops to do that for you. And you would have unlimited, finding 25 deals a year would not be hard. Because basically what they're doing for you is they're taking in, the VA becomes the best version, like superhero version of you, Ray. You know what I mean? Like, if you had nothing to do but like try to crush deals, this is who the VA becomes, because like they don't have anything else to do but crush deals. They have nothing to do but follow the system you taught them. They're great. Now, obviously, the part where VAs can't do is where once they get you this stuff filtered down, then Ray and Hannah got to go look at this stuff because you guys are more qualified, right? You're the experts, subject experts, and you're going to be able to make deals better. But they just did 85, 90% of your work by doing everything I just told you. They just did 90% of your work, and you get to do the 10% that's actually fun. Like going to see 5 houses a week, go see a couple in a day. Some days I don't see any at all. Like that's fun, man. I always actually enjoyed that. And like getting on the phone, trying to make a deal. I kind of really love being in the hunt. And, but I don't like all the other crap that comes with it. So like if they're like, hey, let's do the deal. Now you got to send me all kind of LLC docs and all kind of crap. And, then the VA can be trained to handle once the deal goes down. Okay, here, VA, we got a checklist of everything we do. Once the deal gets settled, we got to get it to the title company. The title company, we got to make sure this happens. Maybe we got to make sure insurance company needs an email saying we need insurance for the property on the settlement date, whatever it is, right? You'll create your own checklist and the VA could be handling all that for you. And here's the thing, they could be handling all that for you at the tune of like paying them $10 an hour. My experience has been at $10 an hour, you can get a very qualified, get stuff done VA. Like I have 3 I just hired recently, and one is working in my coaching business and one's working in my actual flipping business. And the flipping lady is like every day calling me like, what do you got for me? Like I taught her QuickBooks and she's just like, QuickBooks is done. It's complete. Do you have more work for me? And I'm like, not today. I said, next week I'm going to get to you because, and by the way, I'm glad I just thought of that. But so here's something for Samir. I got something for you, Samir. I'm glad you jumped on. Also for Devora, if she listens to this. But so what this VA has already done for me, she's already doing my QuickBooks every day. She's also got my Sly voicemail going. She's managing that, making sure it goes out every day. She went and found a tax default list for me that I somehow couldn't find, but she found it. And she's now going to start pulling comps for everyone. So like, that's pretty cool. So like Samir has been struggling to get comps from my mom sometimes. Mom's been sick. My mom's also really busy. Well, the VA is going to start doing it for my mom and I. So that way, if Samira needs comps, she can get them pretty quickly. So I've trained her on how to do it. I actually have a link that Delante created where you guys can put in and submit what you need. It'll ask you a couple questions. When you submit that link, it's going to email me and the VA. And the VA, I've already taught her how to go on my MLS and how to pull all the comps and send them to you guys. Exactly like you've been taught to do it. I taught her. I'm like, just pull a half-mile radius, go back like 2 years, and just detached or attached, right? Row home or detached. Just make sure it's that, and then send them everything. Let them look. And I said, try to get about 30 to 50 files. That way they have plenty to look through, and then you guys can look at like, okay, this makes sense for me. You can start looking at your own comps essentially. So she's going to be able to do that. Next, I'm going to teach her how to do the automated search so that you can get new listings every day too. But I teach her one thing at a time is the key, Ray, right? Everything's like one thing at a time. I don't say, hey, I want you to do these 100 things. I break down what I need. I get them proficient at one thing, and then I go to the next thing. So we're about 2 weeks in. I've gotten her doing about 4 items in 2 weeks. Not bad, right? Give me 2 months and look where I'll be. 2 months, I'll have her doing, like, I don't know. She might be running the company in 2 months. She might be doing the coaching calls. The teacher just do the coaching calls. Like, she's like, oh, pull the comps for everyone. Who knows?
She can't replace you, Mike.
$12 an hour for that.
She can't replace you.
I wish she could. I was thinking, like, why not? I'm just really, you guys can see my excitement, right? I'm very excited because I've used VAs before, but I don't feel like I've used them for a lot of my personal day-to-day activities like I could. I've always used them for like bigger projects that would eat a lot of my time. And then I would kind of use them for like graphic design, for all these cool things, maybe telemarketing. But I've never thought of them doing like, I never challenged myself to say, okay, what do I do daily? And how can I give that work away? Because I think at some level, this maybe controlling piece of me wanted me to keep doing it. And when I got down to 20 hours a week is when I started to let loose of that a little bit and realized that like, there's no value. The VA can't search and filter the MLS any better than you. But you can certainly do better is what you will do, right? So it's not about, okay, I have to look at houses because only I can do it. Okay, that's true. There's pieces of that that's true, right? And we need to identify the pieces that only Ray and Hannah can do or any of you guys can do. But what could the VA do?
Mm-hmm.
What could they do? If you constantly ask yourself that question, you'll find help. And, so when you start doing enough houses like you are, Ray, you're getting to the place where in the near future, hiring someone to do some work like that could be worth talking about. But before you did it, me and you obviously in our calls, we can talk about like, okay, you'd want to map out and have a good way to train and teach them ahead of time. Like I also just, Delante just got one of the VAs. I hired 3 VAs last week, one $10 an hour for 2 of them and $4 an hour for a third one. And the $4 an hour person, what they've done for me is they're actually pulling my probate list and doing all that data searching stuff. So $4 an hour I thought was really cheap. When you see the book I created for the 3-day breakdown, I had a VA spend 40 hours building this book. And with me, I spent a lot of hours with her, but I think I spent about 6 hours on it and she spent 40. And I think I would have spent 40 or 50. I probably would have spent 40, but it would have not looked as good as this. It's a great looking book, man. It is a great piece of like artwork and it's systems. It's a lot of our systems breakdown that we do in the higher level groups the mayor we're talking about. We have a 3-day breakdown that we're doing in field where we're going to break down every system. Well, VA was able to take like just tons of hours and do this for me. Like really like my vision that was in my head and but I had to work with her 6 hours. I think the belief that you can just hand VA stuff and it'll just produce it for you is not very realistic. But when you're willing to work with them until they can do it, then that's a whole different story. And when you're willing to take any of the things you want them to do and make it simple. So here's what we did with the probate. Delante did a video and he did probate and he recorded that video and then sent it to the VA and said, he had a quick meeting with the VA saying, hey, here's what I want you to do. Here's what it is. I got a video you can watch over and over until you know, like till you get it. Because that's what usually frustrates us with VA. Sometimes we have to teach them 8 to 10 times. The video will now teach them 8 to 10 times. Right? Because when I had to teach them 8 to 10 times, I'd usually make it about 2 or 3 in and I'd lose my mind. And I was like, why are we still teaching? But they love videos because the video, they can just watch it over and over and over. Like much like how I'm working with you guys, right? You guys got videos you can watch over and over so you can really retain it. And because sometimes we have to see things more than once. So anything that you are doing, you can do with a VA. I don't recommend if you're new using a VA or other help because like the first person who should always get paid in your business is you. So if your business isn't making enough money for you yet, then you haven't earned the right to hire an employee is my opinion at least, because hire an employee once you're making some money first. You start making $100,000 a year and you want to spend 10, 15 grand a year on a VA, then that's totally fine because likely you'll end up making a lot more money because you hired that VA. It'll be a good investment of your money. Like $10 an hour. I have a VA, it's cold calling. I have a VA that's now doing a lot of my coaching stuff. I have a VA who's going to be my personal assistant and start doing the comping and books and doing a lot of stuff. She's really helping me break through some barriers, but my big bottleneck now is the time to train them all since I hired 4 VAs essentially. I got one that I'm training to cold call, one I'm training to do this graphic design and social media. So I do got a lot of training because you do have to train them. But imagine that if Ray, you spent 6 months, training this VA, $10 an hour, and they're just in there, they're crushing it for you. Like they're not like the people you hire and it's like 8 hours a day and they do 2 hours a day work. Like they do 4 hours and they get paid for 4 hours. That's simple, right? That's it. No fluffing around. They're not getting paid for Facebook time. And the reason that you can control this, Ray, it's really simple. Like I'll give you a great example of what my VA did for me. When we hired she actually helped me hire a $4 VA. She's like, hey, this is pretty like menial work. She's like, I'll do it for you, but at $10 an hour, it probably makes sense. You can probably get another VA at like 4. And I was like, you know what? I had another VA I was hiring that was at 4 who said they could do this. I'll reach out to her. She's like, cool. I said, do you mind putting a training system for what you did and just doing a Jing video and for like 5 minutes and just showing her how you did it? She's like, sure. So she did the video and she did the video to train the other person. So she showed them how to do it. Then I went and got the $4 VA. And so that's the key, though, is that you have to take it and you measure it. And this is what I love that she did. She's like, I did 10 names. She took a list of tax default. And in the list of tax default, you can get it, but it doesn't have any addresses. So you have to go online and look up every address. So what she did is she's like, I did 10 addresses, and it took me 5 minutes. So it's about 30 seconds per address. So what did we do? We was like, okay, we got 1,000 names. We did the math, and I was like, okay, 1,000 names is about 10 hours. So I got the VA, and I was like, here's what you do. Here's how long I expect you to take to do it. The VA ended up finishing the task in 9 hours. But if she would try to take 15 hours, I would have been like, yeah, you must have been on Facebook. You're not in America. You don't do that in the Philippines. We do that in America because we're lazy, but I don't want you to become lazy like us. So they work for the hours, and what you do is you take your task and you actually do the task, record it on video, and then you have an expectation of how long these tasks should take. So if today I'm like, Samira, I'd like you to do, I'd like you to search the MLS. That takes 1 hour. Here's a video. It shows you how to do it in 1 hour. So I'm going to pay you for 1 hour of work a day to do that. I also like you to go to my QuickBooks, and that generally takes about 30 minutes a day. So what are you going to pay for? You pay for an hour and a half, right? You're not going to have that person there. You're paying for the task. So this makes life really easy when you're paying them for the specific task. Right? It's very much like we're doing with our contractors too, but it's a lot easier to do when you can hire people.
You're paying them line item.
Absolutely. Yeah. Think of taking an employee and taking them. So right now, for the cost of what I pay one in-house employee, I have 4 VAs working for me and doing doing somewhere near like 6 to 7 times the work one employee would do. It's not about the cheaper pay. It has more to do with the fact that I can manage the workflow that gets done. I'm only paying for completed work. There's no, I got busy, this happened, and I took a half a day to do something. It takes an hour and a half. I had that all the time in my old business because we had all these people live. And all the live people would literally, every time I'd see them, if I'd walk in and they didn't know I was coming in, they never were working hard. They almost always were fluffing around, acting, doing nothing. And times like 11 employees, you could see why my partner and I were like, we got to do something different, because that'll suck the life out of your business. So, and why I love VAs too. So one more last piece on it. The last piece is, if you can't work with a VA if you don't have systems, so working with a VA forces you to create a system for them. But I have to tell you, if you and that VA commit to building the system, guess what? The VA will do most of the work for you, and you can do it with that VA together. So like when you're like, man, it just seems like a lot of work to do systems. Well, we'll get the basic stuff down. Let's get you getting deals, getting your houses done. And then I want you to take and say, okay, how do I take my day-to-day routine and start plucking out jobs for a VA? And I can show you my process. I have a very, very good process for hiring VAs that I learned from I've learned from a guy who is like, I recommend you guys Revo, it's called. That's a place where they'll train them. The owner of that company actually taught me this system like 6 years ago before he owned that company. And he's so good at finding VAs, the guy taught me, that he literally has a VA company now where he'll train the VAs in real estate and do everything for you. You can do that, or you can just hire them on Upwork. I've had good success with both. Right. Man. I mean, both people are very good. I'm paying $10 an hour for both. And the 3 I just hired recently were on Upwork, though, just so you know. And my cold caller is from Revo. The cold caller guy came from Revo. He's Jimmy. He's amazing. Like, he's awesome. I love him. He just calls. He's happy. Only reason people don't know he's not English is because his English is so good that it sounds like he's not English, because his English is like got no slang. I'm teaching him how to have some hood slang, so he sounds like he fits in. He's got to do some stuff like grammatically that doesn't make any sense, right? I mean, because that's what we do. We don't talk perfect. He talks more perfect than I do. And he's learning, right? He's learning to add the little things in. But when you have a conversation with him, it's just like slight accent. That's it. I mean, I'm talking slight. That's it. He's just not going to sound like a dude just from the neighborhood, but he doesn't sound like a guy from the Philippines either.
Wow.
By the way, none of my VAs, they're all really good to communicate with, which is one of my number one rules, because if I can't talk to them, I have a hard time training them. Some of them will try to do a lot of emailing back and forth, and I found if I can just get on a Zoom call and record the video and train them, well, there you go. Same thing we're doing right now. You can get Zoom for like $40 a month, or probably less, to be honest. I think it's probably even cheaper, like $20 a month, like $19.99. You can jump right on a call with your VA, record the call, and you walk through the stuff, share your screen just like we're doing. Now, all of a sudden, whatever you do with them, you say, hey, here's what I do daily. And then you time it. You say, okay, that took us 27 minutes. So, I'm going to get you to do that for me every morning at 8 to 8:30. And, expect about 30 minutes for that. And then you let her practice it, and then they get good at it. Now they do that every day for you. Then next day you add something else. Next day, every time they get it, you go to the next piece until you guys are doing a lot less. I just look at it like it's rocket fuel, because I'm not talking about taking your business to 100 houses a year by doing this. I'm talking about just making your quality of life better. And if you really want to go to 20, this was the missing part in your training that they didn't give you when they tried to get you to go to 20. Right? They forgot to tell you that you're going to need systems and you're going to need support.
I just need one.
Yeah. You just need one though. Yeah. So the VAs will help once you get past one, but we talk about all that. So, Samira, let's jump in. And Gloria, if you have any questions, just jump in and ask. Feel free if we're talking about VAs and stuff. But I'm giving you guys. I think I try not to mix the higher level stuff with the more intermediate or beginner stuff, because I don't want you guys to think, well, that's not relevant to me. But actually, this conversation is very relevant to you, because the same system that I was just teaching him to create in his overall business is actually the same system you want to create when finding your first deal. So like the same system the VA would follow, well, guess who gets to follow it first before the VA? Gloria and Samira. You both got to follow the system, because it's really hard to teach the VA if you haven't made it work yet. So the hardest job, and the reason that you guys will get paid the big bucks one day once you hack the code, is that like the hardest job is figuring it out. Once you figured it out, then, like not everybody's going to be willing to go work super hard to figure out how to make it work. Sometimes that takes a really long time and a lot of effort and a lot of headache, and not everybody's going to stick with it. So that separates you from everyone else, right? It separates you from everyone else because you've gotten across the finish line. And now you have once you're across the finish line, you start making money, you can hire people. But to start with, just, you become the everyday, spend a few hours. That's the key. I know, Samira, you're doing it. Gloria, you're getting ready to get into some stuff, but just keep marketing, keep getting a hold of people, and start to get on appointments and do all the things you're supposed to do. And Gloria, how do you get comps now? If you need comps, do you have an agent you're working with, or?
I have access to the MLS now, so I go in there
Good.
and on comps.
Okay, perfect.
I go in there. Yesterday, I was able to call an agent and ask them to put me an offer, and they agreed, and he put in the offer for me. So
Nice.
I told him that I want to win, so he should put a winning offer. And so I'm just hoping that it goes well. Yeah.
Gloria's she's got some cool stuff she's doing. So me and Gloria, she just come in the group, and one thing we found is she's like a good, big personality. She's very much like, people like her. She obviously, I would think her talking to an agent to put an offer is probably an easy part of your day, right? That wasn't hard. She convinced like 67 people to put We Buy Houses in the back of their cars. It's like, that's pretty impressive, right? I mean, 67 people total.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, somebody
I don't think I would even ask. Sorry, guys. What did you say?
My friend want their own sticker, so I'm going to be driving to Baltimore now to put a sticker.
Yeah, it's a great idea. It just requires a lot of getting out there, right? Putting it out to people. Anything you do in a big way is going to work. So the fact that, like, if you get somebody to put We Buy Houses on one car, it's not really going to do enough for you. But, because I've actually, if you asked me before I met Gloria, I'd be like, I've done stickers before, they don't work. But you know why I would say that now that I met Gloria? Well, because I did 2 or I did 3. Gloria's like 67. I'm just starting, right? I'm getting the phone to ring, but like, it isn't a big investment if you really think about it. She's actually gotten a couple of really big wholesale deals, and she's had other leads coming in consistently. So now her focus is really just learning to close those leads and follow the process. So Gloria, I'll share this with you, and Rashad's probably not on, but I've been teaching Rashad that same 3x3 closing system, how we present to sellers once we get an opportunity. He followed it for the first time to the T the other day, and he was like, Mike, it made life so easy. I don't know why I wasn't following it. He wasn't following it because he's a people person, and he doesn't like to follow scripts. And I don't either, by the way. I find that with myself to be true. So, but when you do follow the script, like any of these scripts we're giving, they just work better. They just do. And also a benefit of following the script is when you follow your scripts, then you can really objectively analyze whether it worked or not. Right. So I have a script I use, and the other day I had a call, and I went like I stayed on script about 50% of the time, and I didn't get the deal. So at the end of the call, I'm thinking like, damn, if I'd have stayed on script, could I have gotten this deal? Man, why do I go off script? And now I'm trying to identify why I go off script. And I realize when I talk to other people who are really analytical and they start asking me questions, I like to start becoming a coach and teach. And I'm like, crap, that's my weakness. I mean, it's my strength for you guys, but in my sales ability, it's my weakness, because someone can ask me 1 or 2, questions and just take me right off my script. If I follow my script, things go really well. So creating scripts for everything you do is really important. So Gloria, it was actually easy for you to get somebody to write an offer. But let's say it's a little bit harder to get people to show up to their appointments, for people to let you to accept your offer. Obviously, that's the area you want to focus on, getting your scripts together for the areas that you're not doing easily. Because you don't need a script for everything. We just need a script for the things that are really troubling us, that we're not finding that we naturally do well. I don't naturally stay on point in my conversations about the other person as easily. I need a script to follow that helps me really get very grounded in them, right? I want to be really grounded in their needs and what they need so that I can get the most for them. I can get the deal done, and I can make sure it works for everyone. So that's kind of the script helps me do that, because otherwise I'll just be like telling them how awesome I am. And, I've done 20 million houses. You should sell it to me. And they don't really care about that, by the way. Nobody cares about that, except for me when I look in the mirror and I have naked looking at myself thinking, you did a lot of deals. Yes. The mirror is like, we always get there. Cher's waiting for this to get inappropriate. So that happens. I'm sharing with you what I have to do to get myself pumped up in the morning, but no one cares about us. They only really care about them. And, and it is our job to really service what their needs are, not our own. Knowing that if we do service those, then we'll be okay. Like, we don't have to worry. We'll be fine. We'll make out. We'll get the deals we need and all that'll happen. It'll naturally come. So, yeah, go ahead, Gloria.
Like the other person I spoke with, that was on Sunday, a realtor. He has this house he had on the market that I like. I want him to put an offer. He was telling me that they cannot use, they don't want to use hard money. They want cash only. What does that mean?
I mean, if you tell them that it's not contingent upon hard money, is it an MLS deal?
Yeah, MLS.
I mean, I've never had somebody worry about hard money. I would actually ask why hard money is an issue. If it's non-contingent, if they think you're going to be contingent, that's usually what they care about, not the fact that it's hard money. So if you're like, it's hard money, but I need a 7-day inspection, they're usually more worried about 7-day inspection or contingent upon financing, like those kind of things they care about. But the fact, whether it's hard money or cash really doesn't matter if you make it non-contingent. It shouldn't, at least. Sometimes they think it does. You'll just have to explain that to them if you're non-contingent. That's if you're actually willing to go non-contingent, however.
Yeah, I think the realtor is part of it, because he was telling me there is a lawyer involved. The lawyer wants cash only and all that job. I'm like, hard money is cash. I don't know why you're saying that they want cash only.
Yeah, I mean, it's not technically cash, but here's the difference in hard money and money is, one, the money, they feel like, okay, you definitely can perform. And hard money, they feel like, well, okay, like, what if you can't perform because you're relying on someone else for the money? So what I would actually do is go back and say, hey, what's the lawyer's concerns with hard money? And then try to get them some stuff to help them, like a pre-approval letter would be a big concern. So they know, okay, she's actually pre-approved and she can get the settlement. The next would be that, hey, I'll be non-contingent and I'll give you a nice deposit. But with that being said, I don't think you're in a place you should be doing that. When you're this new, you don't want to like sell the farm to get a deal, because you don't, unless you run the deal by me and you have financing, but you wouldn't be in a situation where if you need to, you can get out. I really like when it's your first deal with me, I'm always going to try to help you set it up in a way where you have multiple exit strategies, right? Because I can't guarantee that you're going to get financing. I can't guarantee any of that. I can give you all the best practices to do so. But let's just pretend that this guy wants to settle in 21 days. It's not enough time to do that, everything you need to do. You're going to need another exit strategy. So I always like when you get a deal where they're like, hey, this is the way it is, we're not doing it any different. Well, guess what? You might just have to pass on that one. It's totally okay. We have to say no to deals all the time. You know how many wholesalers give me demands that are unreasonable? Like, I want you to settle in 5 days. I need a $10,000 deposit, and I'm not going to do this or this, and I need to hold the deposit. And I'm just like, dude, I really wanted to do the deal with you, but none of that's going to work. Here's what I can do. And that's what I would recommend you do with this person. Just be like, give them a little bit more time. If it doesn't go under contract, be like, hey, here's what I can do. If they say no, that's when you're going to get some no's. It's okay. You're not always going to be able to work out the terms, because a lawyer might be trying to put you in terms that are really unfavorable to you. And obviously my job is to help protect you against that, because lawyers tend to like be very good at like creating bad scenarios for people. Well, they're making it in the interest of them, obviously, right? They're making it in their best interest because they're smart and they know how to. Most
So
realtors don't,
what
you know, they
else should I
actually
be
don't do
doing?
that.
I'm looking at the MLS, and what else should I be doing apart from that right now?
The training is what you should be focusing on, because the training actually will walk you through like exactly how to filter the MLS, how to analyze a deal, how to make an offer, how to present it. You have to get that basic training under your belt. At least just be exposed to it one time. Because see, when you every second you spend looking at the MLS when you're not properly trained to look at the MLS is basically wasting time, right? Because what's happening is you're doing what's not worked for you in the past, right? You're repeating the same behaviors that did not really get you the results. So I always say when you first come in the group, the best thing you can do is reset everything. Like close off everything you know, reset everything, and go through the first couple modules, really gain an understanding of them, and know that they're a process. And now go back to the MLS in a week or however long it takes you to get that training done, and approach it in a different manner than you have in the past. Does that make sense?
Yes.
We're going to do something different. That's all, right? I constantly have to tell myself that if I'm doing something and it ain't working, if I got a cold caller and he's cold calling, he's not setting appointments, well, you know, what am I going to say? I can't be like, well, cold call doesn't work anymore. I'm actually like, okay, what we're doing currently doesn't work with cold calling, so we got to try something different. Never fun, by the way. I don't like trying like completely changing what I believe is right, but you know, if the facts are they're not working, then I got to go ahead and just scrap it and start over. And then assess how much of what I used to do can make it to the next cut of what I am going to do. So when you go through the training, it's going to be really clear on like our process, and you're going to take in a lot. You're going to understand, because I have a really good system of like when you find something on the MLS, first I want you only looking at the best properties on the MLS. So I'm going to show you how to do that, how to filter down to the handful of properties that make sense. Next is I want you to be able to look at those and be able to, you know, put a repair budget on it and put an ARV on it that's accurate. And then I want you to run it through the deal analyzer. When you run it through the deal analyzer, it's going to tell you what houses are close enough for you to get in your car and go see. It's not going to be many you got to go see, because most of them aren't that good. The ones that are good like that, you want to go and see. The ones that are a little on the fence, you want to get on the phone with the agent and say, hey, you know, I see you're listed at 90. I'd probably be making an offer about 65 to 70. Do you think that would be a waste of time to make that offer? And the agent usually will let you know yes or no whether it's a waste of time. They say it's not a waste of time, then my next question is, will you write the offer for me? It would really be doing me a big favor. So that's kind of our process. I really summed it up in a very like tight, but it really is that we want to take and spend as little time as possible doing stuff that does not work for us or does not get us closer to doing a deal. And that's going to be your hardest battle, because that's everyone's hardest battle, by the way. So it's not just Gloria, right? That's Samira, that's Ray. Everyone struggles with saying no to all the craziness. And like, you know how hard it is for me not to watch a webinar? Every day I struggle with not watching webinars. I'm still a freaking educational junkie. Apparently, I'm there watching webinars on how to find your first deal. I don't need to know how to do my first deal. Why am I spending an hour and a half of my time doing this? And it's like, I'm crazy. Sometimes I think it's mental insanity, but I do always pick up a nugget or two to, you know, just to make an excuse for why I'm doing it. Because sometimes I'll watch it and they'll say something like, oh, I hadn't thought of that. Like I watched some video and the whole thing that I taught where I, you know, go back to the agents when things are under contract. I learned that on a webinar that I watched. And it's actually worked for me. It worked for Sabrina too. She actually got a deal in PG County with it. No, I mean, yeah, it works, but I guess that's why I watch 7,000 webinars. But when I'm really getting serious about like a process, Gloria, that I really want to start making work that's not been working, I tune all that out. And every time I try to jump on a webinar, I'm just like, God, stay off the webinar. No, put all your focus into this one thing. And right now, your one thing is identifying good properties, seeing them and making offers until you can start getting them accepted. And so that's going to be big. So stay focused on that, get through the training, and then be patient.
Can I look at the picture, do my own work on the other side, make an offer without seeing the property?
You can make a ballpark offer. I wouldn't make a hard offer on it, but obviously you can do, like I just said, you might be able to call and say, hey, I'm going to be 60 to 75. If you watch the training, it actually teaches you how to look at pictures and actually make like repair budgets based on the pictures. And it teaches you everything you need to know to get very ballpark. Not like, okay, it's exactly 67,500. But if you're like, hey, I'm going to be 65 to 75, well, now we have enough of a way to qualify the deal before we get out on it. Right? We don't want to go out and see every deal. we have to have a qualifier. And that qualifier is that the price that they want to get for the property is either what I can pay in theory, based on the information I currently have. And the second qualifier is that, okay, I'm going to pay a little less, but I talked to the agent and they were like, we could probably make that work. There's a situation where they could take a little less. Maybe it's been on the market a few weeks, or that's why we always, after we do the first search of, okay, things that are new to the market, then we'll do the 90 days, everything that's 90 days. So that's also, Samir, for you, when I get this stuff figured out, I'm going to send you everything that's new to the market, everything that's 90 days on the market that hits the 90-day mark. I just got to figure out how to do it because of this new system. Not everybody knows how to do it. I should actually ask Nikki. She's jump back in the group when she gets in. I bet she knows how to do it. She probably learned.
Okay.
I didn't take any of the training. I knew how to do it on the other one. So yeah, every day we want to filter, get very quick. When you make an offer, just don't make it concrete. You don't want to negotiate. Like, I'm definitely doing this deal. You want to just have a open conversation. Like, hey, Gloria, I see you got 123 Main Street listed for $79,000. I was taking a look at that property, and I normally buy stuff in that area for around like 60 to 65. Gloria, does that make any sense to make an offer like that, or would you feel like that would be a waste of time? They're always going to be like, they'll tell you most of the time. They're usually pretty forthcoming.
Okay.
Like, so that's so I don't get in my car and go spend hours looking at a property that I have no chance of getting. Because how many times if you make that call, you're going to hear, oh, no, we already got over full price. You're going to hear that all the time. Oh, no, it's already under contract. I even hear sometimes, right? So imagine how many times you won't get in your car and go see a property that's under contract. You have no chance of getting. They're just telling you straight up you're not going to get it. Because one thing that a lot of people don't talk about, Gloria and Samir and everyone else listening, is they don't always talk about that the reason you're going to get a deal under what it's listed for, it's always going to be through the agent. If the agent doesn't believe in what you're offering, then the agent is not going to go back and recommend to their client that they take your offer. So if you can't get the agent on board that 65 or 70K is a fair offer, then there's zero chance that you're going to make a 65K offer and the agent's just like, the buyer's just going to take it with the agent not agreeing. So really the agent is who we're selling. So when we get on the phone, it's all about being able to convince or talk to the agent about, we don't want to tell them their numbers wrong and all that. We just want to say, look, I'm usually around 65 to 70. What do you think? And you'd be surprised how many of them are like, yeah, I think that could work. As soon as you hear that, that's the green light for me. I'm like, yes, I got an agent that will go fight for my offer. That's all I want, an agent that actually is on my team and will fight for my offer to get through. So when the agent answers and they're like, no, I don't think that's going to work. No, you know what? We're going to be able to do way better than that. Yeah, I don't think that's a good offer. So whether you think this or not, I wouldn't waste your time putting the offer because the agent's going to fight against you. You got to get the agent on your side in order for that agent. So what's the easiest way to get the agent on your side? Once they agree with the number, ask them if they'll write the offer for you, because if they do, they write that offer for you. Well, obviously they're on your side now. But and they'll also, when they write the offer, they'll let you know if you're wasting your time, because now you're really wasting their time, not yours. So that's why getting them to write the offer is so important, because we want them to say, hey, you know what? Yeah, I don't want to waste a bunch of time. Anyhow, that's the key. Follow through all the training. It'll talk a lot about that. And every meeting we talk a bunch about this. Once you get a property, once you're past some of the training, then I want you to find some properties and bring them to the group, and then we'll analyze them and break them down. But I always want you to be able to do it first, so you can come to me and say, hey, I comped it. Here's what I think the comps are. Secondarily, I did this, and here's what I think this is. And then I can tell you if I agree or disagree, and then give you some feedback. Hey, Samir, you actually had a question. You texted me about Edmondson Village and Edmondson Avenue.
Avenue Village, yeah. I was just looking at a wholesaler.
Is this a row home?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is it like, so there is a good part of Edmondson Avenue, but it's not in Edmondson Village.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay. I was unclear.
So
go ahead. Here's
something to look at for everyone on the group. Whenever there's a neighborhood that sells pretty well, but there's like a busy street that takes you through the neighborhood, it's like the busy street's rarely ever super good. In Edmondson Village, like back on the streets are pretty nice. There are a lot of homeowners, but on the main street, there's like a little bit of drug dealing, a little bit of riffraff going on, right? There's some stuff happening there. There's activity, we'll call it, that isn't really desirable. So on Edmondson Avenue, if you were just to pull Edmondson Avenue, you're going to see pretty weak results. Rashad was working a deal on Edmondson Avenue like a couple months ago, and I think like the highest sold he ever seen like 1,000 days back was like 85 or 90K.
Okay.
You know, versus like if you go right off Edmondson, you're going to see 135 to 165.
Right.
You know, depending on the street, how good the part of Edmondson Village is. But on Edmondson Avenue, it's like it's low. It's more of a rental play on Edmondson Avenue.
Gotcha.
So there's like this particular scenario, she wanted like 40, and I think we had to pay 10. It was like crazy. It always seems to be like hard to get a deal together on Edmondson because the ARV is so low.
Okay.
It ends up being more of like you can rent it for like $1,000, $1,100 a month or something.
Gotcha.
They don't rent as high on Edmondson Avenue. They'll rent for like $1,400 a month off Edmondson if you get back in the neighborhood. So yeah, the answer is yes, it is definitely on. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't.
Yeah.
There is, when you go farther up Edmondson Avenue, you technically get into Catonsville, and there's
Right.
these big, beautiful single family homes, and they're a lot nicer. But if you're saying it's a row home, it's in Edmondson Village, then the answer is no. There's really no good part of Edmondson Avenue.
Okay.
We know that too because we just caught one recently.
Okay. Yeah. And I just looked at and I also looked at the maps too of the area, and it was a busy street. So I was like, so I kind of did a little more digging on it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that is the answer. Yeah. And listen, if you're in any neighborhood and that's the case, then what I would do when you're on like the main street of the neighborhood and all your comps are around it, I'll just pull only that main street.
Right.
And then just do it that way. And when I say pull only Main Street, if say the VA sent you 40 listings or 50 listings, what you would then do is just pull out the Edmondson Avenues and only look at those.
Right.
Right. Just not pay attention, because I'd rather see like 3 to 5 comps on Edmondson Avenue than see a bunch of stuff on the side streets that go for a lot more money.
Right. Gotcha.
I wanted you to jump on because that is one of the more drastic versions of that I've seen before, is how Edmondson really drops, like how you literally could be 1 block away and if you're like 150, you're like 2 blocks from there. But Edmondson, even in Edmondson Village, what most people don't know about Edmondson Village is the farther you're off of Edmondson Avenue, the more value you have. So like if you go 3 to 4 blocks off Edmondson, it might be like 150, and like 1 block might be 115. People like, well, just on the same street it went for 150, and I'll be like, no, but yours is 1 block off Edmondson, and like if you just pull your block 1,000 days back, that sold's going to be like low 100s. It's going to be a lot lower because you're close to some dude who's probably doing some dumb stuff. That's what it really is. It gets super nice. The deeper you get in Edmondson Village, it gets really nice back in the neighborhood. I was actually just talking about this with Valerie and Valerie Scott, and she was talking about Edmondson Village, and what I told her that is the truth about Edmondson Village is a renovation area. I've done probably somewhere around 40 to 50 renovations in Edmondson Village over like 10 years, and Edmondson Village comes with a lot of headaches. So a lot of times when you're getting deals there, you're making like 25 to 30K. But what I found over the years through all the deals I've done, because I have the data on it, is that I don't make as much money as I thought I was going to make in Edmondson Village. So there's a big discrepancy between what I think I'm going to make and what I really make. So it's nice to start learning that about certain areas. So Baltimore in general tends to be a bigger discrepancy of what you think you're going to make versus what you do make. But Edmondson Village, because of the price point, it's about 130 to 150K. It tends to be a lot of first-time home buyers, grants. People are bringing like no money to the table. Like I just sold one actually just recently. I'm in negotiations now. I got it listed for 130, and like I got an offer for 139, and they want 9K in help, and they got a grant. And I'm like, you're getting 9K in help, and you're getting a grant. Like I think they're bringing no money to the table, if I had to guess. So ideally, somebody bringing no money to the table, like we want them to have some skin in the game. We want them to be a little bit qualified. I mean, they could just change their mind at any point. I don't know. I mean, it's so you have to deal with the grant. You got to deal with appraisals. You got to deal with a lot of stuff in Edmondson Village. And with that being said, I'm not telling anyone not to renovate there. I'm only saying that know where you're, every time you make a decision, take in all the information, right? Obviously, I've done 50 houses there, so I'm not preaching to you not to renovate there. I'm only saying when you do renovate there, treat it a little bit differently than you would treat something that would be in the county or be in a little nicer neighborhood. A little nicer neighborhood, we might be able to take tighter numbers because, often in a nice neighborhood like Glen Burnie or Pasadena, Catonsville, which is close to there, we find that we get more money than we expected. It's a village, we and we're going to get less money. And we also, it's very hard to get the settlement. Like every time with these grants and everything, we'll see that what should take 30 to 45 days ends up taking about 60 to 90 days, sometimes longer. So, that costs money, by the way. That's like, it's money out of our pocket. Headaches more than anything, though. Like drive us crazy, headaches. So Evanston Village, fine. What I've seen Evanston Village to be better for, especially if you get a private lead, probably your best money you'll make in Evanston Village tends to be with finding people, like getting a deal and then wholesaling it to like so someone even in this group, I know like Sabina will buy stuff in Evanston Village for like 70 to 80K depending on the condition. So if you're picking stuff up 50, 60K, which I've done, like everything I've ever bought's always been 30 to 50K. Like I don't feel like I think one house I bought for like 70 something, but it was almost renovated. I only had to put 15K in it. So I mean, that's so she's willing to do that though because she's renting them and she's getting really good rent and she likes the area a lot. So
yeah,
this
property's going for about 50, and it apparently, and that's another thing too. Like someone already started to renovate it, and they ran out of money. So.
Dude, that's so bad, and the wholesaler doesn't even know it. Like, that's such a bad number. So it's like basically you probably need to put about 30 to 40 to finish it, and you'd be 80, 90 into it, 80, 90. Right? You know what I'm saying? It's like it's the worst ever. And the wholesaler doesn't know because he's probably he's probably looking at the comps off the main street.
Right.
So, yeah, that's an easy one to weed out, but easier now that I explain Evanston Village. And in Evanston Village, just make sure that your numbers, like if it's coming from a wholesaler, I would say it's probably like Evanston Village for me. I really want it to be more private because right now you're facing a lot of rental landlord competition in that area who's willing to pay more than you as a renovator. Right. So if I'm not getting it from a source that I would say is not oversaturated, and Evanston Village tends not, you can assume most things won't be that great. If it's from the MLS, I'm not getting great deals on the MLS from Evanston Village. I did get one good deal that, like I said, I paid 70-some thousand. It was in good shape, but even at the end of the day, I am making like 17, 18,000 on that because the lady had a grant. And she was settled in 30 days. It was 4.5, 5 months later, she settled, and then I kept getting inspections. I'm cutting the grass, and then she wants screens, and I'm like, I'm not giving you screens. Like that wasn't part of the contract. She's like, well, I don't feel comfortable without screens. And then she's like, you know what? You can just have the house. And I'm like, oh, man, I'm 4.5 months in. I guess I'm doing screens. I'm like, crap. She's like bullying me. And I'm like, you know what? I remember cussing out Evanston Village. Like, I hate you, Evanston Village. like, I don't like when they beat me like that. 4.5 months in, and she hits me and I want screens. And I'm like, that's not how this works. You know, right. I'm like, in principle, you can just tell me you want screens now. Like, we negotiated no screens. It cost me $500. And like, I don't know. Anyhow, we got the settlement, but my $28,000 profit turned into 18K because of all the crap. So that's how now I'm not unhappy because it was only a 50K renovation. So I'm still pretty happy that I made 18K for very little work. But I will say that the stress level, I probably had more stress on that house than just about any other house I was doing because, the buyer's pool is pretty iffy. With that being said, I got that about 8-9 months ago. I got it on HUD, and I've been seeing Evanston Village been blowing up because everybody's all pumped up in all the investor groups. So it seems to be a better play to sell to the people who are really passionate to buy there. Seems to be like the better angle in Evanston Village. Try to get it through a backdoor way and then sell it to people who are willing to overpay. But if you do see a deal, I wouldn't tell you not to do it. And if there was a time of year to do a renovation in Evanston Village, it's right now. Hey, right now is the best time of year to do a deal in Evanston Village. You'll be putting it in the market in April, May, and there's the best time of year to sell something is the spring. Evanston Village really lives by that rule. Yeah. You try to sell something in the dead of winter, like it's going to be a big difference between selling in the spring.
Right.
Good neighborhoods, not so much. You got anything else you've been looking at? Anything else you want to share or talk about?
Well, I did look at something yesterday, actually, off of HUD, one of the properties that was on there. The one I asked for, is it Mallow? That one? And that house, the pictures looked decent, you know what I mean? But when you get in there, there's lead paint peeling on the walls. There's mold everywhere.
How do you know it was lead paint, just for the record? Did you eat it, or did you know?
Check this out. I was actually, there was another house across the street that the door was open. It had a Keller Williams sign in the yard. So the door was open. So I kind of peeked in. I'm like, hey, I'm checking out this house across the street. Could I like check out this house too? And there were 3 guys in there. They were contractors, actually, a mold specialist and 2 contractors looking at that house for their client. So he was like, well, we're here for our clients, blah, 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 blah. Not really, you know, so I was like, that's fine. He says, well, but if you want us to look at this house across the street with you, we'd be happy to do that. And so the guys came across the street and they looked at everything with me, and the mold guy was pointing out all this stuff, which with my eyes, I could see what he was talking about. This mold on the railing, like everything. And that's not in the pictures. You know what I mean? Like, so.
Did he say that it was lead paint?
He did say it was lead paint. Lead paint
did he test
everywhere. What was that? No.
Did he test it?
No.
So how would he know?
I mean,
there is a chemical. It doesn't make it lead paint because it's peeling paint. It means there's a water issue that's making the paint peel off.
Got you. But
lead paint needs to be tested with that.
Gotcha.
If I gave you some white powder and I'm like, yeah, that's cocaine, you'd be like, maybe it's baby powder. I don't know, or flour, or sugar, right?
And the windows were all wood windows. I mean, it was just anyway. The pictures weren't descriptive.
Well, let me ask you a question though. Did you just decide you didn't want to do it based on its condition? Because a lot of that stuff is that some of the best deals you'll ever get is because of that.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. You just attach a price to it.
Right.
Not his price, by the way, because that was probably crazy. But attach a real price to it.
I would use his crazy price in determining the offer to the bank, though, wouldn't I? If it's crazy.
Not really, no, because the bank's not. You would do it with a private seller because they'll listen to you. The bank doesn't care.
Gotcha.
The bank don't care what you present to them. They're only going to look who made the highest offer, and they're going to accept it.
Gotcha.
That's really that simple with the bank.
Right.
Now, with it being in that condition, the good news is you might actually run off some of your competitors, or some people might look at it and say, I don't feel like doing that. I'm going to take some easier houses. So you definitely, when you're newer, when a house has some stuff like that, there's people like the fact that someone had a mold specialist and looking at a house across the street, it basically is the whole story of what doesn't work, right? A mold specialist, like my first mold job that was really big, a mold specialist, I got people as high as 20K. The cheapest guy was 10K. Mm-hmm. Now, the great thing about this guy, it was 10K, is he told me everything he was going to do, and I took notes. So he's like, I'm going to use Zinsser 2000 or ISO something 2000 to clean it, and then I'm going to prime it with this primer. It's called this, and I'm going to then I'm going to seal it all up for you with the sealer, name this, and I'm writing it down. I went online and found all the material, did it myself for $1,200. He wasn't doing anything special. He just was ripping it out and cleaning it and then priming it. That's all you do to get rid of mold. It's actually really simple. The main issue that causes mold is the food source, which is the water. Something's leaking in the house. But that's usually, a pipe or a pipe, a roof, something that can be fixed. It'll get fixed in the renovation. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times when your competitor's looking at mold, they're thinking like, wow, this is 10K. But I'm like, hey, Samira, I can show you how to do that for like 2K or 2,500. Now there's a $7,500 difference between what you think and what they think, mm-hmm. right? And that difference is the competitive edge. Mm-hmm. Like knowing you can do that is the thing that may cause you to actually feel like you're, for the bank to be like, oh, she's the highest offer, but it's because you know how to do something cheaper. Mm-hmm. And that's the key to this. Like I love when there's mold. I think somebody's told me, I've heard that mold is gold, right? Mold's awesome because it scares a really decent amount of people off because they don't understand it, but it's really not a big deal. And lead paint, who cares? You're going to end up redoing the house anyhow. So it doesn't really matter whether it's lead paint or not. That's all kind of irrelevant.
And then it has an oil system in the basement and stuff, which the black soot was all over the walls and stuff.
Yeah, so. You're gonna need an environmental team for that. You know what I'm saying? Like it's gonna go in the trash anyhow. All that stuff's going away. I'm glad this came up because that's really a good scenario for you. Because I think when you're newer, you look at that and you're like, oh my God, this is too much. But really, honestly, like probably everything you just mentioned is like, I don't know, $3,000 to $5,000 in work for everything. And some of it's already being done. Like, yes, maybe less, by the way, because you're going to be getting a new furnace anyhow.
Right.
Well, so your oil system is nothing because you're going to be putting a furnace in anyhow. right?
Okay.
So forget about the oil system. Cleaning a little bit
And
of sud off is a couple $100. That's going to happen when you clean.
Right. How much is that, by the way?
The furnace?
To replace the oil unit to a furnace. Just curious.
$5,000. You have ducts? Was there any ducts in the house, or was it just radiators?
Radiators.
They're about 5,500. It's
Okay.
in the analyzer thing.
Okay.
So if you just put it in your thing, it's about $5,500. The mold remediation, you wouldn't call a company in to do it. You're going to call a demo team and to demo it all out first, fix the water problem. Half the time when you demo it out, the mold goes right in the trash, and then all you got to do is just clean up a little bit. You get a nice mask. I've done it myself personally. You get a nice mask, get a scrub brush with some mold cleaner. You clean it, let it dry with a fan, and then you spray this killer, like kills on it. It's like a primer that just seals it, and you're done. It takes like a day or something, and then all of a sudden, you're not like, I'm not like spending 10 grand or 15 grand on it. By the way, and if you didn't feel comfortable with that, you could do all that, and then get my mold guy to come in, and he'll spray it with this stuff and give you a certificate if you want for like 500 or.
Yeah, because I mean, and there was obviously definitely water damage, but then in the beam, I mean, just looking through, like all of that is molded out. So would that need to all come out, or does that get, you know what I mean?
No, not like beams wouldn't, but you just clean them up and then seal them. Yeah, it's usually once you get rid of the mold, can't live once it doesn't have water. So like it's its food source. So the best way to get rid of mold on anything is you got to get rid of its food source. So the first thing you do is fix wherever the water's coming from. And as you're demoing the house, a lot of the mold stuff goes away. The furnace is going to get fixed anyhow. So like that's not worth talking about. The paint coming off, okay, you're going to have to do trim doors and sheetrock. So now you got a real rehab. This is not going to be a little carpet and paint. So you will have to do that. But if you're going to put new sheetrock in, then what do you care if it's lead paint? It's not like you're keeping it.
Right.
You're just going to put sheetrock over it. So like where everybody else is like, it's lead paint.
Right.
Fantastic. It doesn't really matter if you're going to rehab it. It only matters if you're trying to keep it the way it is. It doesn't sound like this house has the ability to save it. No. It actually needs work. Yeah. So what I would more concern yourself with, and this is where I want to get your shift in your thinking, is concern yourself with the layout of the house. And if you were to do all those things, would this house be an A? As far as a layout, would it be a 10? Would it be a 6? Like, how good would the layout be, and how desirable would this house be if you did put new sheetrock and windows and all that in? If the answer is it would be a really good house and it would be very desirable, well, then that's a good house then, as long as you can get it for the right number. Now it's just a matter of numbers, right? It's not like, so we always should attach a number to every house, no matter how bad it is. Like all we do is we adjust our sliding scale to say, this is really bad and a lot of work, so I'm gonna buy it a little cheaper. And then if we don't get it, we don't get it. But if we did get it, we would know we got it at a really good price that's keeping us safe. That's the secret to what we do, right? We want to make sure we do it that way. So anyhow, that's how I go about it. You took the time to go there. So what I would recommend, I would take the time to put a budget together, and let's review it on, if you can make it at 7:00 tonight, let's review it and then get an offer in. It's HUD. You never know. Like HUD will maybe, I've had HUD accept stuff at 50% off before. Like they want 100, I give them 50. You're like, cool. Especially with a house that's got all that stuff going on, that makes it even more likely. But if you get it like that cheap, some of my best deals I've ever done has been on HUD with something that had a lot of mold, because everybody else was like, it's $15K, and I was able to do it for $2,500. So I was like built in like 12.5 right off the bat, and then I got a good deal on it because most people won't even like apply. They'll say it's $15K, but they won't make an offer. Is the best thing that happens, right? Because it means I'm not going to with them at all. They just like don't even make an offer. So know that right now you're kind of leaning 99%, right? And I'm trying to pull you into the 1% where like, okay, it's not the best house, but it, we can come up with some number that makes sense for it, right? We can challenge ourselves to be like, all right, at some number, I would buy this. Obviously, I'm not telling you to buy it super tight. I want you to buy a good deal, and then if, as we look through it together, we can decide like what would be a safe offer for the house. So if you want, I don't know what information, pics, any or video or anything you might have. If you want to do any of that, you can make it to a call, then let's look over it, because I would suggest that like a big part of winning is that you learn to make an offer on every property you see. Right. Make them say no. Yeah. You got to take shots in order to make it.
Yeah, unfortunately can't make the call tonight, but I can work that up and send it over to you, and the video, because I did do a video. But you'll also have.
Yeah, tell me what you think.
Oh, Now
I'm not worried
or
about the
later?
Oh, later. I mean,
Yeah.
because
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
I have a feeling that you looked at it, but you probably then took the gas off of it once you looked at it, probably, right? Because it didn't look like something that was a fit.
No, like I said, I really like the house in the neighborhood. Like, it's definitely a great deal, but I would not be wanting to pay what they're asking for it, for sure.
Well, none of that matters. Like what they're asking is like, who
Right.
cares about that?
Yeah.
Right? Because it's HUD. We care
Yeah.
more when it's like an MLS deal, things like that, but it's HUD. So we want to make, on HUD, you want to make it your business to make an offer every single time.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Because it's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
that hard to do.
Right.
It only takes
Exactly.
about 5 minutes to make an offer.
Right.
So, with that being said, what do you think the ARV is, and what do you think the work is?
Well, again, my numbers were kind of high because I didn't realize that there were the option of doing what you said.
What'd you put in for the mold and stuff? Did you like 10 or 15 grand or something?
Well, I put with all the renos and the full gut, I put that it would be around like 100 reno, 80, I would say 90 to 100.
Well, now it's gone from 100 to 90 to 100. Let's get, what is it? What did you come up with? Don't be embarrassed. It's
100,
okay.
100.
Don't be like, I was like somewhere between 40 and 2,000, 200 million. Like, you got to be more specific. Okay, so how much? You're thinking 100? 100's good. 115? Is that the real number? Because I'm okay.
Yeah, it scared me.
If that's the number, it's the number.
Right, and the thing was,
okay,
he was saying in the basement there's asbestos. So again, I'm getting
shit. You don't ever walk through a house with this guy. This guy scared the shit out of you. I think this guy was making an offer. I'm pretty sure he's putting an offer in right now. I have no doubt this guy's just trying to steal this house from you. I don't know who would walk through and tell you all that other than, like, if you met me there and I was trying to convince you not to bid against me, I would say all that.
Well,
like, oh my God.
But I said it
was a dead body in this house last week.
Right. No, but I said it did. I mean, but I was like, it doesn't scare me, but I'm just not going to offer what they're asking for. So he's like, yeah, so.
Well, that's anyway. All right. One of the tactics I use if some other people are walking through a house that I want is I'll start telling them all that stuff. And like, yeah, most of them, it won't stop them from offering, but if I can just get in their head and plant a seed, it might take their renovation number from 100 to 115.
Right.
Losing. You can't be 15K off. So I'm not saying he definitely was doing that, but I can say that I've done it about 1,000 times myself. If I ever see anyone in the house, I'm 100% going to be like, oh, yeah, man, I don't know about this one, man. That asbestos kind of freaked me out in the basement. All the lead and everything. I figure it's going to cost quite a bit of money. I don't know. What do you think? And like they know I'm bullshitting, but at the same time, I plant the seed. Now they got to unplant the seed. It ain't easy. Because once the seed's planted, it's like a weed. It's really hard to get out, like even once you hear it. I mean, even my partner, we would do that to everyone. When someone would do it to us, he'd be like, what do you think about that asbestos? I mean, that's scary, right? I'm like, Jay, come on, man. We do that all the time to people, man. That's like the only thing in the book. So, yeah, you don't want to – you got to be careful. They'll tell you everything. But I would say relook at it now. 115 is a single-family house?
Yes.
You know how many square feet it is?
The square footage is 1320.
Okay, if you run it through the quick reno estimator, right? When you use that, you probably can't get the 115 too easily. So I would suggest using the tool and running it through that. And seeing what you come up with.
Okay.
Right, so maybe and then throwing like an extra 10K on top of everything for the crazy, the mold and whatever. And I think that's more than enough, by the way.
Gotcha.
So because most things will fall in there. I have a feeling if you redo it, if it's only 1,300 square feet, you pretty much can rebuild a house at 115. They would need everything: roof, siding, windows, like foundation problems, everything new completely.
Yeah, definitely needs a roof.
Kind of hard to get that. Okay. So put all that in, and I have a feeling you're probably going to come up with a new number. It's going to probably be like 90K, maybe because when I hear this house, I'm in my head, I'm thinking 80 to 90. I like where you kind of backtrack to, but I don't like where you actually were. So like 115's on the high end. There's 90 versus 115's 25K. Right? That 25K changes a lot. It probably puts you a little bit back in the game with this deal, and it gives you a shot on HUD to potentially win. But that 25K is really big that we don't. So we want to get real accurate with it. So in the future, I don't know what you put in, but what I don't want you to do is I want you to get I want you to take big things like that and I want you to put them on an album, right? Pretend they don't exist. How much would it be to renovate the house if none of those problems are there? Right? Now, if you do the numbers without those things, you're probably going to come up with like 65 or 70.
That's what I did.
Maybe
Yeah. Right.
Now throw 10, 20K on, like there's nothing in a house. Here's a really good lesson for everyone. There's nothing in a house that costs over $10,000 to $15,000 ever. So like foundation issues, like never over 15K. It's probably the worst thing you could run into. Big major foundation issues would be like 15K. Lead paint, I don't even know. It's not 15K, right? Mold, never ever under never over 5 or 10K. Pool, there's just no could add to a house. The bigger fear is when you have like 8 little things like that, and you did have a couple of those, so I could see that being like 15K. But you just take your 70 and put 15 on, you're at 80 or 85 or 90 even. And 90 sounds pretty conservative, like you definitely would have you covered, and it's 25K less than 115.
Right.
So you can see, I just want you to have the best on it. Now go back and look at your comps and send me what you got, and I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll review it on the call. But send me your video, send me your comps, and I'll give you some feedback. I'd like to get an offer in. If I'll look at it, if it looks really awful, I'll be honest. If I think you shouldn't offer on it, I'll tell you.
Okay. Sounds good.
Cool. I got a 2:15, and I'm still trying to eat lunch, so I want to try to eat my lunch between 2 and 2:15. Anybody else have any questions? Jump on at 7:00 tonight if you can make it. And Samir, if you send me some stuff, I'll review it.
I'll do that. Okay.
I think you're doing a great job going out there. It's a matter of constantly reaching out, and don't worry about pulling too much. Come to the groups, reach out, and let's get your numbers sharp, because I'll tell you right now, the biggest downfall would be being 25K off on a renovation or being 10, 20 off on an ARV. Those things kind of make things not work.
Yeah.
So that's why I recommend you make an offer on every house. It's not because I believe you should make an offer on every house, but I think you should get your brain used to going okay, if I start, I don't go halfway and then quit. Sure. I go all the way to the end, so my brain is good at finding the solution.
Right.
Because what brain happens if you don't learn how to bust through and figure out the exact number, then guess what? You never learn it.
Right.
So now what I want to teach you on this one house, we can do it on others, but this one, I want to get real clear about the ARV, real clear about the budget, and then very clear about the offer and what to do and why. And then I want you to learn that, okay, that's what I do on every house that I go to see, because when I go to see it, I got enough information to do that. So why not finish the process and give myself a chance of winning?
Right.
No matter what I see. Now, the only time I don't finish is if the house is in a bad location, or I get there and I'm like, wow, the neighbors are junk in the yard. Maybe I just don't want to do it for that reason.
Right, exactly. And I also did, just another caveat, I also did driving for dollars around there too. So I do have a list